Florida State Clemson in Death Valley. This is the way it should be for the ACC lead. And we all have anticipated this one the entire offseason. We got big game James Coleman, Den Media Group. Get on over there, check out his work. And of course, we get together every Wednesday for Florida State Seminoles Live right here at the Voice of College Football. So got to get here for that as well. James, what's going on today?
Not much, man. Beautiful day here in Florida. It's going to be ugly again. It's just hurricane season, so we'll be getting rain, and then we'll get pretty decent weather. Then we'll get rain again all the way up until about October. Then it's kind of just chilling until we get scary right toward the end.
Do we know what it's supposed to be like in Clemson, South Carolina on Saturday?
Maybe a little bit more like it was in Boston. Unfortunately, there's another tropical disturbance up in the air, but we're gonna pray for better conditions. Considering, well, I'll be in a box, but I still got to be up there, and I'm actually driving up late Friday night because the noon kickoff is it's just tough to get to Clemson, South Carolina on the day of a game on a noon kickoff.
James, I don't know how nervous you were last Saturday, but obviously all of college football was kind of dismissing that game. I was watching other games, then all of a sudden it kept getting closer and closer and closer, and I would check in every so often, but then I locked in on the last 10 minutes of that game because it got a little touchy there. So when a game ends on a face mask penalty, when, if you're watching that game and you just want to see good football and you want to see drama, you don't want to see a penalty end the game. You want to see BC with the chance to win it, to see what they can do. And can they drive it and take care of business? But 18 penalties against them. Florida State races out to 21-point lead and hang on. Cause for concern?
No. I have a show with the Gator Bowl called Drive to Selection with Greg McGarity, former athletic director at Georgia, and he's the current president of the Gator Bowl. He brought up this really good thing to me on Saturday when we were hanging out, and he said, James, the championship seasons come down to 7, 3, and 2.
So 7 games, you're going to just be absolutely better than everybody that you play. I would argue LSU, SMU would be included in those 7 because those games weren't like 3 games where just perfection takes place. Offense, special teams, defense, everything was clicking. But then there's 2 games that are going to make you believe in God. And this is one of those that definitely had you praying and you just don't know what's going on. All the bad things that can happen. Guys are allegedly sick. Very ugly conditions up in the Northeast. It's a boring-ass stadium. A lot of excuses, but the reality is it's just hard to go from Orlando, which looked like Doak, Central Florida, to go to Doak, which was practically sold out for Southern Miss, to go into where people are kind of just, we don't want to be here, and a noon kickoff, which noon kickoffs are just different. You're used to late starts, and now you got to go. Your pregame meal is your breakfast, and some people don't eat breakfast. It's just a lot of excuses can be made, and a lot of weird stuff was happening. You need games like this. I'm going to tell you, Florida State had a game like this last year against North Carolina State that they lost. So one of the things that I keep after last season, and you saw the change, you saw the things going in Florida State's favor, you started seeing Mike Norvell change a little bit. You got to realize that this team is a bunch of firsts. Last year was his first time winning a home opener against a big opponent on the road, basically. Then it was, learning how to win. Now it's learning how to be able to stay high at every given possibility. And it's just Boston College. Red bandana game. I made a joke, went viral. Boston College got mad at me. I said, the way we're going to whoop that ass, you would think we were Crips. I understand that what that game means to them. And it wasn't because of the game. It's because of what that game means to them. They always play us super tough. It's aggravating. They did this in 2013 to one of the best teams to ever play college football, our national championship team. They struggled to get out of there. And, hey, this team struggled to get out of there too. But a win's a win. Winning small or big on the road is a monumental task. That's what Coach Bowden used to say. So I'll take it.
Okay, so you're going to wipe all that away, or are you going to look at anything and say, this needs to be better, that needs to be better?
Oh, we gotta do our jobs way better. Now, it's not that you just throw away the tape and you don't teach. It's just some of the stuff you just chalk it up as there. Because the reality is their mind wasn't in it. That's really what it comes down to. And fan is short for fanatic, and I'm learning it more and more every day with social media. It wasn't so much that the defense wasn't called properly. It was the fact that we just weren't getting home on a blitz with a super athletic quarterback. You have to do your job. Defensive line has to stay in their lanes. Linebackers, if you're spying, you got to be able, like, if you see the guy going, you got to go. You can't let him get a full head of steam. When we're in coverage, you have to cover your area, especially in zone. You can't be trying to cheat the zone. That leaves gaps for a guy who can find it. And that's what he was doing. Now, here's the real head scratcher. First quarter, 3-point score. Now I get it. We only had the ball one possession. They mucked it up. Defense couldn't get off the field on 3rd and long, but still, you have to be able to win the quarters. You lost the first quarter and you lost the fourth quarter. You didn't score any points in the fourth quarter, and you held on. Florida State's offense is too potent, too high powered to be derailed by that defense, no matter how physical and how much different they are than the rest of your schedule. I think Jordan Travis is extremely talented. I think he's getting caught up in two things: trying to be trying to prove to the world that he's a quarterback, and also at the same time trying to prove to the world that he's a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. And what I mean by that is there are times when he can be in front of the chains by using his legs, but he refuses to use his legs at times. And then there are times when he uses them because there's a cheat code and he does entirely too much, i.e. the play where we all thought he got hurt toward the end of the second quarter. You've got to be able to just move the pocket and get out of there and also attack the middle of the field. That's really what they have to be able to do. We saw it with Jaheim Bell. When he got the ball to Jaheim Bell, the ball started moving. But there's also guys like Winston Wright and Destin Hill that have been open. We can't just force it to Keon Coleman, making him try to make very difficult 50-50 catches. Now, prayerfully, Johnny Wilson came through a lot better than he came against Southern Miss. But even then, the 50-50 ball is not supposed to be the whole crux of your offense. It's supposed to be a added luxury to your offense. And I think we relied on that a little bit too much. And the running game has to get better. I mean, there are key takeaways that you can take from this game. But I will say this, not very often do teams blow a 21-point lead in the manner in which Florida State did, unless it's just some bad mojo going.
Den Media Group. It's right here on YouTube. Get on over there. Check out James' work there covering Florida State and more. And again, James joins us every Wednesday on our Florida State live show. So get there as well, Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern time right here. Jordan Travis, like you said, when we thought he got hurt, so you're not concerned, or based on what you know, of course, you're not a doctor, you're not in on the reports and prognosis, but everything seems to be okay?
Yeah, he's practicing. They expect him to play in this game. A lot of guys who are injured. Also, when you think about Maurice Smith being out, even though Darius Washington has done well, that's the center, that's the quarterback of the offensive line. Not having him around kind of affects a lot of things that are going on as well. Robert Scott is well coming back. Akeem Dent, I hope to be back, but But Jordan Travis, I think it was more of a just an ouch. It was more of a scary situation than it was anything else. I mean, he immediately got back in the game and played. If it was something that would really scare, like a collarbone, he wouldn't have went back in the game.
So, James, obviously coming off the LSU game, this team just looked like a wrecking ball, and then they flattened a Southern Miss team, unlike we've seen anything Florida State done in a long time in terms of being, okay, we're an elite, we're going to show it, even though this team's not that good. They're a bowl team. They're a team that we would expect to win 6-7 games. So they're functional, and Florida State didn't beat them by 2 touchdowns. They just completely rolled them by 50-some. So they look to be at that. And then this Boston College crew is just coming off a Holy Cross game that they barely hung on to, and they lose to Northern Illinois. And so that was completely unexpected. So Clemson seems to have a little bit of life in people's eyes, where a couple of weeks ago it was like, okay, this isn't the game we expected it was going to be. How do you evaluate Clemson's chances in this one?
Well, you just have to realize that Clemson recruits very well and has elite athletes. I mean, looking at the schedule, ironically, I would suggest that Florida State's matchups have been better across the board than what Clemson has played. I mean, they played Duke. Nobody would argue that LSU is probably better than Duke. I would say Boston College is probably better than any of the 2 wins that they have. And Southern Miss, as you just said, will be a bowl team. So we haven't got a chance to play the FCS school that you can clean up things. That being said, Cade Klubnik is a very good quarterback. He's just not athletic, which Florida State would probably take as a welcome relief, because the last 3 weeks they've played against guys who teams want to move the pocket, who teams want them to use their athleticism. What Cade is a lot better at doing is setting his feet, throwing the ball downfield. But when we look at the loss and what Duke was able to do, was able to create pressure and put havoc on him and force throws. That's what Florida State's going to have to do against this Clemson team that has shown a propensity to be able to, for you to be able to force turnovers. Florida State hasn't really turned the ball over that much. I mean, I think Jay Travis had 1 interception, and I believe 1 interception, and then we've had 2 fumbles that both came in the Boston College game, which one was off of a pooch kick where guys just doing too much. But I think where Florida State's going to have an issue is that Clemson has a dynamic running game, and they have 2 really, really good running backs. One that we've known that I'm ready for him to go on, and that's Will Shipley. I can't think of the other one's name, but he's the one that fumbled the ball going into the end zone against Duke, but he's still a really good running back.
Phil
but
Maffa.
They're running – you said what?
Phil Maffa.
Right. And I think they even said that he's banged up a little bit. So – but their running game, when Clemson did it to us last year, was all based off of what DJ was able to, ukulele is what I called him, what he was able to do with his legs. And what brought Clemson to a win was him looking like crap. And this is why I don't believe any of this stuff. Clemson looked like crap going all the way up into that game. And then damn DJ played a Heisman Trophy winning performance against us. So I don't fear Cade Klubnik's athleticism, but I do fear that somebody's going to wake up in that Clemson offense and maybe give our defense a little bit of fits. And their linebacker play at Clemson is probably the best linebacker play that we will have seen. But their D-line, I don't think is better than LSU's D-line. So I think it's going to be a good game. It is not a rivalry per se. It's a rivalry in the fact that both of us have been the most dominant teams in the ACC, and that there is some competitiveness in that, and the fact that Florida State can't proclaim that they're back until you get this monkey off your back, because they have beaten us seven times in a row. So it's been over 8 years, because we didn't play them in the COVID year, since we've beaten Clemson. And no way to get back on track with recruiting, with the nation knowing that a victory, whether it be 2, whether it be 22 over Clemson in Death Valley, because that is still a very difficult place to play.
James, you brought us to a place that I want to stay right here with the 7 consecutive wins by Clemson. I actually did a little research yesterday. They have not been an underdog in the regular season since 2014 in this conference. And obviously we know who that was too. Not been an underdog for any game. Haven't been an underdog for a game, period, since the 2019 national championship game against LSU. So in another discussion we've had with you and the other guys many times has been proof of concept. So Mike Norvell was selling guys on dreams and visions and all that sort of thing. And shoot, give it up for him. He did it. LSU last year was a certain proof of concept moment. And on as that team won 6 consecutive games. And then boom, LSU, another proof of concept. So now we get to a point where proof of concept hasn't been a thing against this team, but at least these guys have been competitive against Clemson. They don't walk on the field thinking, we can't hang with these guys. We've played right with them. We just haven't gotten the job done the last 2 years, but they've been good games. And the rest of us guess about that psychology. You lived it, you played it, and then you were also surrounded by other guys that played it, lived it, and everybody's different. Some guys, I'm sure, that can wipe the slate clean the next year and be like, just line up, let's go. We don't care if you beat us 59-zip last year. But other guys, it's in their head. Where do you think Florida State's at with the whole Clemson wins this game every year deal?
I think that's the beauty of the transfer portal. And there's not enough guys who have felt 4 losses or 3 losses to Clemson. You've got enough guys on there who don't know what it's like to lose to Clemson because they've never lost, or don't know what it's like to have that many years of losing to Clemson. And I also think, I hate this quote because there's a lot of better quotes for Bobby, but this best sums it up. At first, you lose big, then you lose small, then you win small, then you win big. I think the gap has been slowly narrowing to where we had the professor in the stands getting beat reading a book playing Clemson, to where last year we felt we had every chance to win that game. In fact, the last 2 years we had every chance to win that game. So Florida State just has to come out there and believe in what Coach Norvell and the staff has had. One of the things that you can tell by a great team is when they believe in what's called. Even if the plays suck, every offensive play is designed to score. Every defensive play is designed to stop the offense from scoring. So even if you're not in the most premium matchup, if you do your job, you will win. But I can promise you, there is no offensive play that will work if all 11 players on the field don't believe that the play will work. Somebody has to outwill it. And I think when you get into those, oh my God, it's Clemson, this is happening again moments, is when you take a step out of your own, you take a step out of what the safety and the sanctity of doing it as a team, and you try to do it on your own. And I think the only way, and that's what's been different about Clemson. Clemson has literally come out every year and done what Clemson does, and they wait for you to implode. And I think right now you've got enough senior leadership and enough key players that the guys believe in that they won't implode. Again, that was the best takeaway from Boston College is in previous years, the guys fold and implode on themselves. This time they stood the course and they were able to win the game.
I'm sure it's tough for guys like you that had to run into guys every play to hear all this talk about quarterbacks all the time. Everybody wants to talk about quarterbacks. I do my best to give love to the offensive line in particular because I think those guys make it all go. And obviously, they're what I think is the most important unit on the field. But the quarterback is, I don't think there's any question, it's the most important position on the field. Well, you got one guy that you already pointed out in Jordan Travis, who's got a dimension that Cade Klubnik does not have. Number two, he's played and played and played, and we've just seen him get better and better and better and better. Klubnik hasn't broken through yet. He's not played well against a good team. He's had a few opportunities and not played well yet. He's extremely talented. You know, how much of an advantage is that if Florida State's down 4 and they've got the ball with 2 minutes left, there's got to be a lot of confidence that he's going to get it done versus if Klubnik's got the ball down 4 with 2 minutes left, that we don't know if he can drive it down the field and get this thing done.
Yeah, I mean, that has a lot with Jordan Travis at the helm. You always feel like you have an opportunity. When Jameis was here, I had a little saying: all you needed was Jesus, J5, and time, and you could win any game. I believe with Jordan Travis, if you are in a situation where you want to go down, what does the defense do? Do you go back and you do what traditional teams do when you have the lead and you're trying to play with the lead? Do you play a very soft zone or a version of the prevent? Well, if you do that and you take away the top, well, what does Jordan Travis do with his legs? He's got the ability to pick up large chunks of land with his throwing ability or his running ability. Now, I think with Cade, you said hasn't had that opportunity yet, but when he's played against teams that have time to study him, he hasn't really been able to show that he can shine. Like again, Duke, the bowl game, he performed well against North Carolina in the ACC championship, but even then, North Carolina's defense gave up a bunch of points to FAMU in the beginning of the previous season. So, but I don't think that they're going to try to rely on Cade if it's a close game. They're going to use what their strength is their running game. And they're going to try to play very sound defense and a very good with a very good running game. And I think that's the formula they're going to use to beat Florida State because we haven't really seen anything from their receivers, which is odd because Clemson used to be known for their wide receivers.
James Coleman, Den Media Group. And again, we get together every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, right here at the Voice of College Football. James, with whether it be Den Media Group or anything else that you've got going, anything people need to know about what you've got going that we can point them in the right direction?
Right now, we're 117 followers or subscribers away from 3,000 on the YouTube channel. Once we get to the thousands mark, so we get to 3,000, we will give away $300 to a listener live on my next Big Games BS show. Also, the Virginia Tech game is sold out. there's a way to get tickets to the Virginia Tech game. We give away a pair of tickets the Wednesday before every home game at Florida State, but we will give away 2 pairs of tickets once we get to 3,000 for the Virginia Tech game. So that's 4 tickets that we'll be giving away. And then last but not least, there's a young man named Jack Coleman. It's my pinned tweet that we will be taking. He's from Dreams Come True in Jacksonville. We partnered with them with the Gator Bowl. His dream was to come to a Florida State home game. He has a brain tumor right behind his basically right behind his eyes. The surgery and the treatment basically has left him blind, and he will eventually go full blind. He wanted to come to a Florida State game, so we're going to Duke. We're going to cover that, all expenses paid. If it's something that moves you and you're interested in donating to it, go to mftkfoundation.com. You can donate there at that link, or all the links are also on the pin tweet. But we're going to but the biggest thing we can do is raise awareness, retweeting that, letting the world know what we're going to try to do for Jack. So hopefully that will be a good game, a good victory, and a good memory for Jack as he comes. So you can follow you can go to mftkfoundation.com for all of the things that we do in the community with the MFTK Foundation.
Folks, you see James' Twitter handle right there on the banner right there, Big Game James _36. You can follow everything there. Again, he said it's the pinned tweet, so it's right at the top. The other thing with the Den Media Group, we're going to put the link. It's going to be in the top of the description section, the link to his Den Media Group channel right here on YouTube, and so you can subscribe right there. James, appreciate you breaking things down for us.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Anytime. See you later.